The government has been strongly advocating using less cash in business and personal transactions and using more digital or cashless methods. Despite the many incentives, there was a 10% fall in digital transactions in volume terms and 7% fall in value terms in the second month after demonetization was announced on November 8, 2016. Now, the data includes digital wallets, mobile banking, transactions, and electronic fund transfers. Now, there are several suggestions on how to incentivize the use of cashless, particularly amongst the poorer sections of society, as well as payments involving the government, both center and state. But the success of cashless will also mean that someone has to bear the cost of the electronic transaction, something consumers across the board do not quite appreciate. So going forward, how can India incentivize cashless and make it a win-win? Well, to discuss this, I'm joined by Ashish Ahuja, Executive VP and Product Head at payments company Fino Paytech, and Anish Chakravarti, Lead Economist and Partner at consulting firm Deloitte. Thank you both for joining me. Anish, let me begin with you. If you were to look back in the last couple of months, from a macro point of view, how has the experiment with cashless been?
Well, it's always been there, the experiment with cashless. It's just it never had that visibility. We're suddenly seeing that visibility. There are some data points which are very stark to me. You rightly mentioned it has come down, but if you look at November to December, and I'll use two data points, one is USSD. Transactions there just in 1 month went up from 7,000 to 95,300. That's the number of transactions. If you look at Unified Payments Interface, the numbers went up from roughly about 70 crores to about 690 crores. Huge jump, close to about 700, 800%.
Right.
Since then, January, it's slightly tapered off because you can't sustain that level. So I think the visibility suddenly went up. It was an explosion of visibility. It's sort of tapering off, but the question is, where does it consolidate and what level it stops? I don't think the experiment has stopped. It will continue. It's really when does and how does the consolidation happen.
Right. So, Ashish, if you were to look at your own experience as a business correspondent, as someone who's been setting up payment system chains or links, what's your sense in terms of how people behave when it comes to digital and cashless and the learnings from the last 2 months?
So, Govind, if I was to look at it, I would say that, the fact that the cash was sucked out of the economy definitely gave a big fillip to the cashless part of it. The digital economy took off. Question is, how well will it sustain over a period of time? If I look at my own data in terms of being a large BC, one of the largest BCs in the country, I would look at it and see that we've got broadly about a 50% jump in the digital transaction, RuPay cards, AEPS, financial inclusion. And this is largely a rural economy that I'm talking of, right? Question is, now that the cash starts coming back into the economy, to what point will this peter off, and what will be the stabilizing point from where we can take off again? I don't think it's going to be a question of everything coming back to status quo as and when the cash comes back. I think people have got used to the fact that digital economy is a way of life. There are going to be some incentives that are going to be put in place. There are large measures being taken by the government. There are private players. There are 20 banks, about 20 banks which are going to be coming in soon. So I think this is going to be a way of life, and the experiments, I would say, would continue to go down that path to make sure that digital is a way of life now.